to give an overview now of the Camsat 5.8 GHz wireless AV sender and receiver unit that you see in front of me here. So first of all, it comes in this presentation box, which you can see. So it's extremely compact, and there's basically only two parts to it. There's a transmitter unit, which you can see here. Just comes with this cover, and that's the front. This is what we use for doing the transmission. And then we have a receiver unit. Once again, it comes the unit and the back plate here. And this is the part that does the actual receiving. And what comes with it then is you have this bracketry here. So this would basically bolt onto the unit, and then it would use to attach this U-bolt, which would clamp onto a pole. Okay, and the various nuts and bolts are used for that. And these four screws here are used for attaching this unit onto the back cover here. So what I'll do here is I'm just going to demonstrate where it'll actually just bolt it in like that. Okay. Now I'm going to show you something somewhat cool about these particular screws is that when we have them bolted in, we have them like that, and if we turn it upside down, you can see they don't fall out. Okay. So let's just look at how we do the assembly on this. Well, probably the handiest way and the quickest way is just to show you these units actually assembled. Okay, so it's pretty simple. You're just bolting on brackets like this, okay, dropping into position. So I will do the transmitter unit first. And I'm just going to show the bracketry first of all. So we can see here we have this bracket bolted on here, and we've added on this U-bolt and a bracket here, okay? And this will obviously clamp onto a pole, okay? That hopefully is relatively clear. Just going to move that out of the way, and we will replicate the process here for the receiver unit. So once again, you can see here that we've bolted this on, and we clamp in a pole at this point here and clamp it in like that, hold it into position. So in terms of looking at the internal electronics of it, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to step forward, and I'm just going to show you the wiring and the various setups inside. So I'm just going to do it in the order of the sender unit, and then we'll look at the receiver unit. So let's look at the key things here. So as you can see here, we have two cables coming in. This first cable here is an RG59 cable. It's coming, for example, either from a DVR or from a camera directly. And it feeds directly in here into this video in. If we look over here where we actually have some Cat5 cables wired in, what we have here is we have a video ground here, and then we have an audio left and right where we can add in audio here. In this case, we haven't got that set up here. It would be unusual, but sometimes people would use that. And also then what we have is we have a ground for our 12 volt and then the actual 12 volt itself. And this is what actually powers the unit. And what we'd have this connected to is a 12 volt 5 amp power supply. And if we look here finally, we'll see there's a channel selector here. So it's a binary system, and it gives us a total of really 7 channels that we can select. So if we had a number of units in the area, we can actually just come along and set them to a unique channel here so that to avoid interference problems, etc. So normally people just go to the default settings here, but it is possible to change it. So I'll just move this back here, and then we'll look and we'll say to ourselves, so what would we do then in terms of the receiver unit? Well, we'll just rotate this around again, and in this case here, what we've used is RG59 twin cable with twin power core here. Okay, so I'm just showing this as a demonstration that it's possible to use different cables with it. But basically, in this case, the signal will be transmitted here. So in this case, the BNC is taking signal from here and running it off normally to a monitor or a TV where we can see it. And then once again, we have a video ground here, which we don't need to use. We have an audio left and right, which once again we're not using because we're not transmitting anything. And then we have a power supply, once again connected back to a 5 amp 12 volt unit. And it's just a neutral and also the 12 volt itself. And we have the switches here set to the same setup on it, okay? And it's just clearly marked here that this is a receiver unit, okay? So this here has proved to be a very popular unit. The fact that it's working on 5.8 gigahertz means that it's on a range that's not commonly being used by other pieces of equipment. So it doesn't have all the interference problems that would associate with 2.4 gigahertz units. And some typical applications for it will be, the most typical obviously would be something like carbon cameras, where you have a house and you have a farm unit some distance away. It's too far to run a cable. So what you simply do is you set up one of these units and broadcast the signal from point A to point B. And the range on this is probably about 2.5 or 3 kilometers. The power units we recommend with this is 12-volt 5 amp. You can use smaller units, but depending on the range that you're hoping to cover, I think it's probably worth going for the larger power units on it. Another application would be sort of an industrial setup here, where you have a number of cameras, etc., set up in a single location. But we have one outlier shed or something like this. It's too difficult to run a cable over to it, so what you can simply do is you can broadcast it in. So that's it anyway. Hopefully a pretty comprehensive overview of this. Now we have 2 further videos in the series. One is just giving an overview of this as part of an overall kit that includes the power units, etc. And the other one I think you'll find a very useful video, which is the actual installation of this in an outdoor environment, and it's just giving a demonstration of taking a feed from camera and broadcasting it to a second location wirelessly. So that's it. An overview of the Camsat 5.8 GHz wireless transmitter and receiver unit.